$9 million. That's the apparent price to pay for stolen time. A life locked behind bars based on a twisted and possibly corrupted prosecution. It all started when a Sacramento County brother and sister accused their father, a decorated police officer, of sexually assaulting them almost 30 years ago.
It's quite the story. The courts put Ray Spencer in prison for 20 years, but just 2 months ago, Ray, with the help of the children who accused him, won his freedom and fought for his reputation through a civil lawsuit. CBS 13's Ron Jones is getting answers for us as to why the children, now adults, say they were forced to accuse their father.
Ray had his kids with his first wife here in the Sacramento area. He divorced and married wife number 2 and moved to Washington State with his kids coming to visit him during the summer school breaks. It's there that Ray Spencer's life spiraled out of control.
Time, a precious commodity. For parents, it can fade quickly. Before you know it, time with your son, your little girl, and time as a family can vanish, especially when it's snatched away.
I'll never forgive them for what they did to my children.
Ray Spencer knows about stolen time. Sentenced to 212 years, he spent 20 behind prison walls. This former decorated police officer was accused of a despicable act.
My daughter has alleged that she had been molested.
It was the 80s. Ray was a Vancouver, Washington motorcycle cop, SWAT team member, and later an undercover investigator who took down big-time drug dealers. At the top of his career, his second marriage hit rock bottom.
I liked the ladies back then.
During a nasty divorce from wife number 2, Shirley, Ray says the couple agreed to share custody of Katie and Matt, Ray's kids, and Shirley's younger son.
But I was a good father. Those children were my life.
In 1984, a horrible accusation. According to documents obtained by CBS 13 from the Clark County, Washington Sheriff's Department, the ex-wife Shirley told Ray his 5-year-old daughter Katie had been sexually assaulted. Ray got the investigative ball rolling both in Washington State, where he and Shirley lived, and in Sacramento, where the kids spent most of their time with his first wife.
Well, as a father, I was not going to ignore this.
The details of the history of the case are outlined in this copy of a federal lawsuit first filed by Ray Spencer last year. In the document, Sacramento County investigators found no evidence of sexual assault of the kids, not even with a rape exam conducted at UC Davis Medical Center. Sacramento investigators dropped the case, and that medical evidence got shelved. The same document also says lead investigator Sergeant Michael Davidson and Detective Sharon Krause of the Clark County Sheriff's Department in Washington refused to let the allegation go and zeroed in on Ray.
It never occurred to me that within a month or two, I would be the only suspect in this.
Within weeks, both investigators filed more disturbing charges, accusations that Ray had molested his 8-year-old son, Matt, and another child, Shirley's 5-year-old son.
I said nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened the whole time.
Katie Tetz lives near Roseville. She was that 5-year-old girl, Ray's daughter.
My statements were clearly nothing happened.
Matt was 8. He says they were told by their stepmother the assaults did happen.
Violent rapes, repeated rapes.
Katie says Sergeant Davidson and her stepmom pressured her.
I'm sitting on my mom's lap, and my mom's saying, come on, you could do it, you could do it. And he's saying, you could do it, and then you could go, then you could leave.
Wanting 8 months of interrogation to stop, Matt says he finally broke and said, yes, my daddy did it.
The guilt starts to really overwhelm you at one point where it's just, you can't deal with it.
Ray was sent to prison. For nearly 20 years, his lawyers worked on appeals. And then a bombshell. Years later, as adults, Matt and Katie said they learned from a 1996 court deposition by Detective Sharon Krause why they believe Shirley wanted Ray out of the picture.
Shirley was the one that was having an affair with the lead detective on the case.
On your case?
Yes.
CBS 13 obtained that court deposition. Washington Detective Krause testified that her boss, Sergeant Michael Davidson, was having a romantic relationship with Ray's ex-wife Shirley during the investigation. CBS 13 also obtained another document from a Washington State inquiry by the governor's office. It shows Sergeant Davidson even left his own wife and moved in with Shirley after Ray was sent to prison. But it didn't seem to matter. Given 2 life sentences, Ray was doomed.
But many times at 3 in the morning, I'd be sitting there in that cell, wondering if my kids ever thought of me.
Finally, in 2004, Washington's governor reviewed the case and its disturbing issues and set Ray free on a conditional commutation. But Ray still had to register as a sex offender and stay in Washington state. For the next 5 years, his defense team went back over the original case, resurrecting the medical exam, the affair, and evidence that the children's testimony was coerced, and went back to court.
There's nothing left on your record.
Nothing.
In 2009, the Washington State Supreme Court, citing many disturbing issues in the case, overturned his conviction. But Ray wanted more justice. He sued the detectives and the Clark County, Washington DA's office in civil court earlier this year, and in February, he won a $9 million verdict. After Ray's release, Matt reconnected with his dad at a Washington airport.
I felt like I needed to go up there and I need to talk to this man. I need to look him in the eye and let him know, hey, I know nothing happened.
I said, Matt, you were a little boy. You had nothing to be sorry for. It's taken a lot of years to finally get this overturned, all the charges dropped, to win the federal civil rights case. And having this burden off my shoulders that I had to carry for so many years.
Now, I tried to speak with the Clark County, Washington defendants and Ray's ex-wife, Shirley Spencer, for her side of the story, but there's still no response. Detective Sharon Krause is now retired and declined to talk about the story. Sergeant Davidson's attorney says his client may appeal the civil trial, saying the evidence presented was insufficient.
What a twisted tale, Ron. Thanks. As of tonight, Ray Spencer has not seen 1 cent of the $9 million awarded to him in February, but he does now spend time with Matt and Katie as a family.